All right, it's 7:02. We're calling our meeting to order. And anybody have any amendments to the agenda?
Can
No?
I just ask that we just talk briefly, and I mean really briefly? I've had a couple questions about if the code passes. We talked a lot about how we can change it. So I guess I'd just like to know truly as a town, how we go about doing that. Because I had that question. I'm like, oh, well, I know we've talked about being able to do it, but I truly don't know how. So I'll find out the answer. So
I think that comes from us. If we're going to put changes forward.
okay. So we wouldn't have to have a town vote or anything?
We would have to have a town vote to commit the changes because it'd be an ordinance change, but it would be up to us to bring the Board of Selectmen and bring the changes forward.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So all the ones you have in your mind, start writing them down.
Yeah, and I would add, we've already discussed a number of them. The biggest one being an historic preservation ordinance that would need a committee to be formed to identify what the issues are and define that. So we've talked about that a number of times before. So I'd say that's at the top of the list.
Yeah, no, one of the people I was talking to said they would have to go through and get signatures to get it on. And I said, I don't think so, but I truly can't answer that for you. So thank you.
The other thing we've said multiple times is that we would task, since the planning board won't, we'll have more time, that we'll task them with reviewing how the ordinance has been operating and recommend changes on a annual or twice a year basis.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, they don't need to do petitions unless, we say no.
Right.
Then they bring a petition to us. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I don't foresee us saying no to any changes to that. See what they are. All right. Anything else? All right. We'll move on to the minutes from September 29th. Did everybody get those today?
Yep.
21st.
Oh, sorry. My thing says 29th.
Yeah, no, I put on the agenda on the 29th, but I was off. I was off by a week and I missed 2 meetings. So we have the 22nd and the 29th, which are still outstanding. And we have the 21st, which are in, that email that you got today from Harriet.
Okay.
Still working, still efforting to get caught up. It's
okay.
Yeah.
So the minutes from the 21st. I'll correct myself.
Right.
Have a motion?
Yep.
I move.
Joel, second. Rob?
Yeah.
All right. Discussion. Anybody see anything? Nothing jumped out at me when I read it.
But they look good.
That looked good.
Perfect. All in favor? Passes 5-0. All right. We'll jump over to new business to John for LED street lighting.
Okay, so we're back. So basically, we're at a point where though I gave you 2 components to the picture, there's really only one that you really need to make a decision on tonight. And I should have been probably clearer about that. Rob gave me a call this afternoon and had some questions that he had, which were really good. And I think probably I didn't do a very good job of explaining it. But effectively, here we are. So basically, there's 2 parts of this that we've been talking about with Real Term. There's been the street lights, the LED street lights, and then there's the kind of the decoratives that are the decorative lights that are part of the Academy Hill project. So I included both of them kind of en masse in your packet for this week, but we're really only talking about the first several pages of that, which really govern the street light conversion. So basically where we are is that Real Term has looked at both. Just to give, maybe I'll go with this part and then we'll talk about Academy Hill in a second. So just to get everyone up to speed, last winter, ourselves, Newcastle, Damascotta, Bristol, we also reached out to Booth Bay, Somerville, Wiscasset, and really had a kind of a large group that were looking at the idea of trying to convert our streetlights to LEDs. This is a conversation that has gone on for a few years. State law has changed, which made it much more possible for municipalities to own their own streetlights. And the costs related to the purchase are such that by operating and paying the same amount, you can have, in a matter of 4 or 5 years, you can have paid for the cost of the purchase. Basically, the buyback period is 4 or 5 years. So what we've done is we went in as a group, though we individually had RFPs to a handful of different vendors. 2 vendors had put forth their their proposals, and we had some long conversations with them. Brian was actually part of that kind of interview pool. We talked with Real Term Energy, and we talked with Affinity. Both were good. They were within, I think, 10-15% of each other's pricing, but ultimately decided to go with Real Term Energy as the vendor that we would be working with. Now, Real Term is neither the company that supplies the lights, nor are they the company that does the installation of the lights. They're merely they assist in the procurement of all the services needed to change out those street lights. So they really kind of meet everything in the middle for us, and they do some of the work that municipality wouldn't be able to do. So once we started to work with Real Term, what they went through and got an exhaustive list of the streetlights that we were already paying for, a list of the streetlights that, and with their XY coordinates, effectively their latitude and longitude of where they are on the earth, matched them up with our billing, and found that, and then did some, I think, rudimentary audit of what we have, found out that we have 4 less lights than what we were paying for. So went through that process, then in the process of working through Academy Hill, finding there were a number of lights that existed that we were not paying for. So anyway, the net effect is, we're at a point where we would be adding 3 lights over the 40 that we were paying for before. So not even a 10% difference from what we were paying for before. And so in that process, then I worked with Real Term to try to look at a number of different locations of where lights are pretty dark, where there's maybe some spots where lights could move to better light up an intersection, a crosswalk, some sort of important area that we want to have lit up, such as a parking lot, and really try to work within the lights that we currently have without buying extra lights, but trying to reorganize them in areas that were of higher value to us. And then concurrently with this, these lights also have smart controls, and the smart controls then allow us to, as easily as logging in onto the internet, onto a web page, secure web page, we can go in and set different times on it, different color temperatures. So there's a lot of different variability that we can operate once we have the lights up and we have those smart controls. So effectively, what we have is we had 40 lights. We'll be talking about having 43 lights, and really trying to focus them on, as I said, intersections and crosswalks wherever and whenever we can. So talked with, you can see in the proposal, we've got what the lights would actually look like. We've got some lighting colors and a whole bunch of all that. There's information about the node, which covers the smart controls, as well as you had some sketches of some of the areas. These aren't all the areas that streetlights exist, but some of the areas in particular that they looked very closely at in terms of where lighting would exist and how to get the maximum benefit from what we are, the 43 lights that we would have. So in any event, that's where we are. And then of course, we went out and I got some rates on financing the purchase of these lights, then to fund their installation. So that's where we're at.
So John, can I ask a question? So you say, is it all lights or just, so here's why I asked the question. And,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in front of my house, there's a street light. at the intersection of Sneed Spur and River Road.
hmm
But I didn't see it on the map here. So is that what can you say about that one? Is that just there, but it's not mapped out, or what?
Right. So there are a number of lights that are not owned by the town, and they are. I don't know who owns them. They could be private lights. They could be Maine DOT lights. For example, the light on the corner of Academy Hill and basically right on the corner where the public house is. That light is not a town light. So that's a light that's owned by presumably by Maine DOT. So we would be working kind of around their light situation, but yeah, we don't have any sort of control over that light in particular. And I would presume that's the same case with the Sneed Spur light as well. There are lights we have that are on Route 1, but not. It's somewhat seemingly it's a bit haphazard from what I can see from the maps that I was viewing.
So do you have the full list of lights without maps? Or?
I do. The problem is that they're not the lights that I have the XY coordinates, which could very easily you can plug them in and you could see from there. The problem is that the way that CMP lists our roads, their roads are not our roads. I don't know if you've ever run into that, Tor, but effectively the CMP has their own road names for roads as they call them. Like for example, we have North Sheepscot Road is one of the lights. It's one of the locations for lights. We don't have a North Sheepscot Road, but that's presumably that's North Newcastle Road. Let's see, like that's the kind of the difficulty in going off of the map I have. I do have a map that they sent me, although it wasn't in the packet for this, and I was trying to find it because Rob had some questions about a light on Glidden Street as well, and I was going to try to see if I could find it, but I didn't have much luck before the meeting. So I can certainly verify, any locations, if you want, to make sure. The main thing is just trying to, I'm trying to get the number right, and we can have some flexibility in terms of where they go from there.
So we got another question. The light the fixture, is that is that what the other towns, so is it like a package deal, like these are the lights that all the other towns are using?
Yeah, and it's actually it's the same light the other towns are using in the area. So that's us, that's Damascotta and Bristol. I believe it's also the same light that's being used up in Knox County, because a number of those towns also went with real term. So I think that's the same light. The other thing that we were trying to talk about is the idea of having a light that so we didn't have to each have our own stockpile. If there's a lead time to have a light repaired, and for us that might not mean make or break. But if we can borrow from Damascotta, or they can borrow from us, or Bristol, and so forth, rather than each of us having a stockpile, it seems to somewhat regional. Regionally that seems to make sense.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was helpful when I was talking with John was that this is really it's an energy saving exercise, and in the middle of that energy saving exercise, John was able to tweak the location of a handful of the light fixtures. It wasn't a wholesale study of where lighting is in the town and what the optimum way to do it is. It was just a way to make things a little bit better while we're saving money and energy.
The smart controls is up. Go ahead, Wanda.
So I guess my biggest concern is that it seems like in the last, since I've been on the board, but especially since spring, it just seems like all we've been doing is spending money. We took out a huge loan for the town for Academy Hill. And we had to do all the stuff to the town hall and to the community room, which isn't even done yet. So I'm just a little worried. I just kind of feel like maybe we could, and I don't know how we do this, but maybe we take a pause and, we wait till spring and we see how we get through the winter. you know, we're not out of the woods yet. And I'm just a little nervous that we just keep spending all this money. So, you know, for right now, I'd like to see us take a pause and just kind of hold off. I mean, this is an extra, you know, an extra loan and extra money, and we truly don't know what's coming down the pike. And we've spent an incredible amount of money over the last few months. So
The only thing I can say about this portion, the lighting, is that we already budget for this every year. And so for the street lights, we wouldn't, whether we take out a loan just to pay it off now, but we actually already budget that money every year to pay for them. And I think they said it was 5.5-year return on our dollars, which in my opinion is a great return. It's going to save us dollars down the road and get us better streetlights than we have, because we hear complaints today from our residents about the current streetlights. They're shining in their living rooms, their bedrooms. These are downfiring lights that we can control. You know, so I personally think this part is definitely worth it, especially we're already budgeting the dollars for it. If we weren't already budgeting the dollars every year for it, I'd have more objections to this for spending $30,000 on it, $32,519. But because we budget it, you know, to me, it's just existing funds we're using. Go ahead, Wanda.
I think it was 61,000.
Well, 61,000 total, including Academy Hill.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. I mean, energy efficient, all of that. I'm just saying, can we pause? Can we just put the brakes on? Maybe wait till next spring and see what's going on. That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Just giving us a pause, take a breath, stop spending money just to see where things are going.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I think another thing that I understood after talking to John, but not before, was that we're really only talking about the $32,000 expenditure for the streetlights. The other portion is in the Academy Hill project, so it's not something that we're deciding on or talking tonight. That's part of that decision that's already been made. And the quote from the bank was thinking that it had to all be financed, but we're only talking about the 32,000. And further, I think given that financing, I'm sure that if we borrow that money, we're cash flow positive on the project in day one. It's got a 5-year payback, but because we're financing it, our financing costs are going to be less than we would have been spending on electricity. So we're saving money on day one doing this project. So I think it's Wanda, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I think this particular project actually saves us money from the get-go.
Right. And the interest rate you had on here, John, was 1.77 for 5 years.
Right. Yep.
That's, I'd like to get my mortgage for that.
Wouldn't we all? Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, for this portion, I think because for just the streetlights, existing streetlights, and bring those up to par, and getting lights where we don't have them. Like one of these lights, Wanda, would go over by the community room for the fire station to lighten up that parking lot. So if we start using that this winter again, as we come back to having our meetings there, I think we definitely got to do lighting there. And it was more expensive to do stuff on the building than it was to do this when John got some quotes. So.
But I think, don't we still have work to do on the community room? Don't we still have all that work to do on the audio system and all of that, which we haven't even,
we haven't even talked about yet. So.
Yeah, which is more money.
prices
So
to
I
come
guess
back.
that's my concern. It seems like we're just bleeding, and I'm just concerned. I'm concerned for the people of Newcastle and myself. I don't want my taxes to go up.
Nope, me either. Go ahead, Tor.
It looks like the acrylic lens is an option, whether you have it or not. Maybe we want to be thoughtful where we use that, where we don't. It looks like it has a 10% uplight if you use the acrylic lens. So, for light pollution, keeping lights at horizontal cutoff. I know particularly I've got one of these things in front of my house. The acrylic lens throws light out horizontally, and it's really got a lot of glare to it. So I think, where we can avoid using the acrylic lens, I think that would be a good idea. Keep these things pointed down.
Anything else to add to this, guys? John, are you looking for an action on this, or we just bring it to our attention for now?
I'd like to. If you're ready, if this is something that the board would like to pursue, then it'd be great if we could get a motion to move forward, and then we could put them on order and set up the installation. Obviously, there's about a 6 to 8 week lead time for them to have them even ordered, and then when they have to get scheduled. So if they were hoping to put the order in around the same time that Dameron Scott is putting in their order, because obviously there's an economy of having one crew doing all of the lights at the same time.
All right, Joel.
One question I had to bounce off Tor's concern, if we wanted to go through the list and look at where we put the acrylic lenses or not, is that something that we could still do and fit in this time frame? I mean, I'm fine with approving the project. It's just, it would be good to make sure that was done a certain way. Or does that throw a real wrench into it?
I don't think so, because I know that there's an allowance for installing shields where needed as well. So I think that there's some flexibility in that. I'm glad to make a phone call and tomorrow and just verify that. But I don't. From what I could see, that there's a lot of flexibility when you're in the midst of it. So as long as they have the parts when the order's going in, I don't think it's an issue.
Okay.
And John, the acquisition portion of this is for them, for real time, to take care of the acquisition from CMP for us, right? So we're not.
Right. So yeah, no, right. So we have to purchase the street lights, the old street lights, whatever's left of their, what the value of what those lights are. We have to purchase those, which they're valuing at about just a shy of $4,000. And then from that point, we have to buy them from CMP, and then we can put up whatever lights we wish. So,
are we getting credit back for the lights I have out by my house that haven't been here for 30 years?
I feel like you and Clayton should each get credits for those as well. Yeah.
Right. But are we going to get any bump back from CMP for charging us for lights for so many years that we didn't own? No. We're just going to reapply. We're going to apply the money where it should have been all along from here on out. All right. We should have made that part of our deal for the bridge. Tor, go ahead.
Yeah, right.
Well, I was just looking here. I mean, they've got these photometric diagrams. The black blob
Mm-hmm.
on the map or on the Google satellite view. So I'm assuming it doesn't. I'm not sure if these are with lens or not. I would say if this is the coverage that they're proposing, that's a question for them, John. If you want to ask them to be clear, are those photometrics based on acrylic lens or not? I would say, if these things are 70,000 lumens and we have 10% bouncing up into the sky, that's still 7,000 lumens that are polluting the air in town. So I would just say if we can avoid that, I'd be in favor of it.
Tor, are you talking about the somewhat darkened aerials that show the Academy Hill area? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, most of these. I mean, they've got the black outline. There's a black, it's like a blob. It's a black.
Yeah, that's Academy Hill though, Tor.
No, but I'm looking at all of them. They've got all Glidden Street.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And so to be fair, I mean, this was, as I mentioned to Rob, I got a little more out of them than what they bargained for in terms of what I was asking for from them in terms of our expectation. I mean, the expectation when we sent out the RFP is we want lights, you'll get us lights and get the installation. They really don't do design to that to any great degree. They did a little bit more of that for us because I had some questions about some locations, and so they had some time to throw, you know, their designers at it. And so that part of it is that those are, you know, those kind of blobs are really, you know, the ideal, you know, kind of setup. But in other parts of the town, you know, simply because those blobs don't meet up, it doesn't mean that we're providing insufficient light or a low quality light. If anything, it just really means there might be a bit of a gap. Their feeling was, you know, certainly there are areas such as that Mills Road, Academy Hill, Main Street intersection. That's an area that I felt was a high important area where we really need to light up and make sure people can see and operate safely as possible. But, you know, say down Glidden Street or, you know, as you're going out of the intersection with Sheepscot Road and North Newcastle Road, heading down out of Sheepscot Village, there really isn't that same sort of importance of having kind of a continuous path of light, I suppose, that you're traveling under. So yeah, I mean, I think if to go lesser than wouldn't be, I think that's more of a choice, a style choice in part for what the town sees as its best fit. So if it's slightly less, I don't think there'd be any pushback from anybody, I guess, if the acrylic lens was, you know, deemed as really not a good fit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look at it this way. If our current ordinance and the proposed code specify horizontal cutoff, that means zero uplight. And if we're putting lights into town that have 10% uplight, not really following our own code. So we should keep that in mind.
Joe, go ahead.
Is the shielding, is that something that could be added after the fact, like when the areas were designated that really needed it, or is that a big deal? Because I think it's hard to know until you actually see how things are operating and how the temperature controls work. And I think Tor's point is really good, that we need to, you know, again, be mindful of the impact of the lights. I mean, they're not doing a great job at preventing light pollution right now, what we currently have, but we have no control over it. So if we own the lights and we can control all that stuff, I think that's a big plus. And there's probably a few areas we could identify right away, whether it's the lens or shielding. I mean, I don't know enough about it to know what would be the more effective way to go, but I think that would be a good way to look at it as a possibility. So,
But the smart controls will be able to control some of that too. Be able to tell them.
Right, but not the uplight. The uplight's a different
The uplight's
different thing. And
So I also thought, looking at the plans, that I thought we talked about not putting so many around the corner at Academy Hill. I remember Carolyn having a real concern that, the Academy didn't want to put anything into this project. And she was concerned back then that, you light it up too much. And then, I mean, there's a lot of lights around that corner of the old gym. And I thought we talked about scaling those back as part of the Academy Hill project.
There were lights that were removed from the Academy Hill project in last October, but the lights that were spec'd out as part of this were the lights that were part of that project. So whatever was not the number of lights didn't change from the time the contract was signed until now.
It just seems like there's a lot going around that corner. There's like 5 something.
Well, there's 5 from the bridge up to the old gym. Right?
Yeah, to the old gym.
And there's nothing beyond the old gym
get
going
that.
up towards the school.
Wait, can I just be clear? Are we talking about Academy Hill lights, or are we holding on that?
Well, Wanda just brought up Academy Hill and the number of lights up there. we're kind of dividing this into two conversations though. So one is on the streetlights and the next one would be on Academy Hill.
Okay.
But John's looking for a motion on the streetlight portion of this, let me scroll back up to this. On the 32,519. So go ahead, moving forward with the 45 streetlights with the smart controls and the acquisition of purchasing our existing lights from CMP. So
I'll move that we accept that proposal with John reviewing the lenses and shading.
do I have a second?
Second that.
All right, thank you. Rob and Tor. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of having John go ahead and move forward with the streetlights? All against? Opposed? Passes 4-1. Johnny, do you want to talk about Academy Hill?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, there's the 5 that are right around, as you said, right around the old gym. They run from basically around the corner down to the railroad tracks. So there's 5 posts that have been installed and conduit run between them that would hold these posts. Let me see if I can put together. Yeah, I'm trying to get. So yeah, so that's basically what was in the plan, you know, as part of the project. And then there's 2 more in front of the school itself.
Oh, there are, so there's 7 total.
Yes. Sorry, 8 total. 8 total. There's 3 in front of the school.
Okay, I didn't see those 3.
Yeah, but it's the 3 around that corner where this is the 5 around that corner were the ones that were part of that conversation that Carolyn had brought up.
Right.
So as I said, we budgeted about $46,000 for the purchase of not just these 5 lights, but the entire run of lights. So we're about 2/3 of the cost of what was budgeted in terms of by working with Real Term, as opposed to what was expected as part of the project budget when we were talking about this a year ago. So it's going to cost us, considerably less.
And do we know for sure what we have left in our budget on Academy Hill? We've got some
We met today. Seth has the numbers. He and I met kind of preliminarily in terms of where we are on that project. There are a lot of work that needs to be done and discussions need to be had with the water and sewer districts about some of the repairs that had to be made to their system. So I'm hopeful to have, kind of more of a breakdown with you next week and have Seth, or not next week, in 2 weeks, and have Seth join us to go over all of that. But what I was, but I've been assured today that we can do this for the money that we have, that we're within budget. So, and the fact that these came in well under budget certainly helps that as well.
Right. Joel?
I'd just say that I think with both these projects, both the street lights that we just talked about and these post lights going up the hill, it's going to cost us more if we wait. We've already, done the work to do it, and I think it's we should get the savings while we still can, and finish it up if we're going to be within budget. So.
Tor?
Yeah, so, returning to Wanda's point about the amount of light there, I think there's, I remember actually Kevin Houghton across the street from the Poe Theater complaining about light pollution from, there's a few building mounted lights there that are pretty overbearing. But these look like they're I think they're pretty good devices. The one thing I'll point out here, just so maybe John, you want to just make note, see on the decorative lamp that goes on Academy Hill, it's listed as a full cutoff LED too, so that means there's no uplight at all. So all that light is just going out and down. And these light diagrams are pretty, they're fairly accurate, so we can actually see where the light's going to be spilling over. There's some onto the yards, but nothing's really obnoxious the way I see it.
Anything else you want to add, John, or?
No, not really. I mean, assuming if I think we'll try to get some answers on the street lights here in terms of our options and our flexibilities, and hopefully we can get something that would work for everybody. Because you're right. I mean, there's certain locations that just aren't, you know that you're going to have some glare issues. So if we can avoid that ahead of time, we absolutely should.
Yeah, for example, on Pump Street and Glidden Street, that's places where you really don't need, spillage. My question, John, is who gets to pick whether it's got a thinning old spike or a ball or?
Wait, what's that?
For the light?
Page 2 of 5, you get the choose on the decoration on the lamppost.
Oh.
Well, you can have none.
You better make the right decision, John.
Yeah.
This is why we pay him the big bucks.
Right.
Well, so it actually, I believe that the issue on the top of those decoratives, the top will actually be the node for the smart controller. So it's actually not quite as, I mean, there's a top, I believe, that goes on top of the smart controller, but the smart controller is a bit of a less exciting option. So a little less flare than we might want. But yeah, I also just as a note here, all the bridge lights, both Damascata side and Newcastle side, are going to be the same style, same type of light as what we're going to put in up on Academy Hill. So there'll be unanimity and that same full cutoff that we're using up above there. So there's a little bit more glare, I think, with the ones that look like marshmallows. So hopefully that will work out well for everyone on the bridge as well.
Yeah. You should do that round knob because it matches 3/5 of the board.
I have one more question, I guess, on those. It doesn't show any of the bases and how it attaches to the concrete base.
Oh yeah.
One thing we would want to avoid is what you see in other next door, where those really nice cast iron bases get cracked when the snow comes.
Yes, Seth and I have talked a lot about that, and so he's placed the concrete bases up a little bit. I want to say 6 inches. I could be wrong about that, but I think he put them up out of the above grade, so to avoid that issue, because that was the same thing he has said, that next door the Damascata, those bases get whacked. And also in terms of the style of the post is the same sort of style as what's on the bridge now. So effectively, if you look at that picture of what the top looks like, and what the post looks like, that's effectively what the whole finished product will be in the end.
Right. I think they'll go look at it'll finish that project, and that's what I'm looking at, versus having concrete there for the next 20 years. Nice to just have Academy Hill 100% done. And if the money's still in our budget on the hill, then I don't have a real issue with it. I'm always gonna have to go after a loan for this amount. So. And for the other amount, I would have thought we'd pull it out of the general fund, but 1.77%, that's free money.
Right.
For 5 years. So.
Nothing's free, Brian. Nothing's free.
No, 1.77% on 30,000 for 5 years is, because what do we spend now, John, on just on the streetlights on our budget? Do you have that number off the top of your head?
Oh, I don't have it off the top of my head. No, I can bring it up though. Bear with me. It'll take me a minute though. So go on to something else.
Well, for this, you know, we want to another motion just to approve moving forward the lights on Academy Hill as long as it comes out of the existing funding, the existing budget for Academy Hill.
So moves.
All right, think of Joe, do I have a second? No? All right. Thank you, Tor. Any further discussion?
I still think there's too many, but
And I guess I have a question. It seems like that decision had been made. We don't
Yeah.
really confirm it. Doesn't hurt, I suppose, but
Well, this was considered an option. The actual light fixtures themselves, we held that out as an option, so that if we ran into things during the project that were out of our control, that cost more, and we couldn't afford it, we wouldn't have to go over budget. Because we, you know, that was the whole idea of this, and so
Got it.
we pulled those out. Plus, we thought we could save money by going through real term, and we did. So the exercises worked.
Right, yeah. Grouping this with the street lights worked out well. So.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and Wanda, we've already put all the post mounts in for this project, so I don't know if we want to leave those concrete blocks just sitting there if we took out a couple. But I think they're going to be low volume enough to where they're just going to really light up that sidewalk as you go down it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as bright as what they're showing here. I'd be kind of shocked. So, all right, so all in favor of, I forget what the dollar amount was on this one, 29 something. Yeah, 29,188.47. Tor?
I'm voting.
Oh, you're voting? All in favor? All right, that's all opposed. That passes 4-1. All right, so moving on. Updates on Academy Hill.
Well, someone got looped into the last agenda items, but basically we're at a point where finished paving will begin, I believe, tomorrow. Finished paving of the sidewalk has been completed up to the railroad tracks, so we're going to finish that. Finish the finished paving on the, obviously the main road. And there's some hand paving that also has to be done, but basically we're staring the end in the face. So we're at that point. So as I said, I met with Seth today, talked about the general state of the finances of the project. There's still a lot of work he needs to do with the sewer district and the water district, but basically we're at a point where he's ready to basically hand over the keys to the owner, and that we can start to move in. So I think there's been a lot of good and positive comments we've received, certainly in contrast to where we were in July and June, where we had a number of folks who were unhappy. But that was the roughest part of the project, and I think since then we've seen things have been quite successful. So I think I'd put the rest of the update, I suppose, on pause, and perhaps look towards your meeting on the 26th, I guess. At which point I'll have probably more of a budget and where we stand today and what the change orders were accomplished look like, what they had, what they did, what all that went with that, and what to do with some of the options that we have remaining that either haven't been accomplished, won't be accomplished, maybe are no longer priorities for us. those are things that you guys will be able to weigh in on. So that's really about it at this point.
Great. Yeah, it looks nice. Drive it every day. It looks good. So, all right. Moving on to the town warrants. We have one for $254,307.53 and one for $76,060.56.
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second. Thank you. Thank you, Wanda. Any discussion? I didn't see anything that jumped out of them, either one to me. All right. All in favor? Passes 5-0. All right. I need anybody have anything else before we jump into executive session? Right. Go ahead, Tor.
There was a screenshot of a website here. Is that part of this?
Oh, right. All right. You have John's notes. Yes. You want to run through that, John, for where we are with?
Sure. Yeah. So the website. Yeah. So this is a glimpse at what the website will at least start to look like. Don't pay any attention to the text, the photos. The idea is just to give an overall kind of first blush of what this website might look like, how it works. All that is not yet in the picture. So this is the really important stuff is on the back end. But I was working with the art designer. He did some work on our logo, so he could, kind of brush up that piece of artwork, which needed a lot of work. So yeah, this is, I can try to share it with everybody so that way you can see what we're talking about. So that's, kind of a sense of the web page. There's things in there we haven't really zeroed in on in terms of, how specifically it will work, but you can see there's a lot of like basic nonsense language. I don't know if Joel is going to wear the Uncle Sam hat in the parade there, but there's a whole, we don't have swim lessons or curbside pickup of trash either, but at least it gives you a sense of some things. We are looking for artwork, so if anybody out there is watching has some photography that they'd love to share and have up on our website, we're certainly glad to accept anything, and where it works, we'd love to plug it in. So if you're listening and you're interested, we'd love to send me an email, and I'd love to have that participate as part of what we're doing here. So that's kind of the first, real quick look at what it will be.
Looks good. Be a good change.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of limitations that I've noticed that we've had in terms of talking, communicating with people. We saw at the public hearing, we just don't have a lot of tools at our disposal to be able to reach out to people right now with the website we have. And we need to find ways to get information really in their email box. If they want it, texted to them, that's just what we're going to have to do. And it's no disrespect to Lincoln County News or LCTV or our current website. It's just the fact of the matter is that when people want information, they need it. There's so much going on. They need to have it right there. And for that matter, we need to have tools to be able to get out to people when we have, emergencies and disasters and the like. We need to have better tools to reach out. So hopefully this will be a big step forward for not just for the town office, but for the residents, most importantly.
Great. Looks good. All right. Anything else? All right. Then I need a motion to go to executive session underneath 1 MRSA section 405(6)C for real estate.
Move.
Thank you, Rob. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joel. All right, John, you want to kill the video? Oh, actually, all in favor? That's 5-0. Here you go, John. You want to kill the video or the recording anyway?
Stop recording.